Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Great. Fantastic.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to talk about turbocharging your business, and I'm going to give you a quick background on myself. We're going to strap on some booster rockets and go through a quick how to turbocharge your business, and then jump in with questions anytime you have them. So I never started off with a ton of education. I graduated high school. That's about it. My wife is much smarter than I. She's got a PhD. And so she took my diploma once and was going to toss it in the recycling. I was like, no, that's all I've got. And she gives me a hard time for that. So I never really had, people didn't really give me a chance because I didn't have a lot of education. So I did all these minimum wage jobs, painted houses. You see the pedicabs guys out here. I did that for 3 summers. And the last job I had before I started my business was an usher in a movie theater. So tearing people's tickets, showing them where they're sitting and everything like that. And I used to walk around the theater writing down business ideas on a piece of paper. And I always knew I wanted to have my own business. And nobody would take a chance on me because I didn't have any education. I hadn't proven anything except these guys. So I ended up quitting my job and, Visa funded the business. And I wouldn't recommend it, but it worked out. So the first site we had was a signature file site. This is a long time ago when signature files were, when people still have them at the bottom of your email, a little thing. And it was called a signature file because it was pulled from the server from the little signature file. And we still rank number 2 for signature files right under Wikipedia. And that site took off. And I still remember, this is, I don't know if you guys have ever started a business off from zero, but this is, the top here is the counter. This is, 1 person, 3 people. 1 is me. One's a friend. Your mom checks it. And I remember very clearly this slowly going up and slowly going up, and you're hoping, and I remember $2,000 as I wrote on a big piece of paper on my wall, and I was like, $2,000. If I can make $2,000 a month, boy, I've made it. I'll be a rich man. I don't know if you guys have ever felt that, and then I saw a check online, and it was for $5,000 by a company called MailBits, and what they did was they had a form, and you could send a link to a friend. So it was like a tell a friend concept. And I thought, we can program stuff. We could make something like this. And so we switched our model from making websites and monetizing them to actually being a service provider. So we created a site called SuperTAF. And this site sort of started to take off, and we were doing really well. And this is us in my apartment. First employees would come. This is Blake and Kara, and I'm showing my age with these monitors here. This is a while ago. And we built a business in the apartment. And eventually we got office space. This poor guy here lost a bet, I think, and we're covering with stars. And we continue to expand. And now what we do is we've got a form processing service on the bottom here. This is sort of an ongoing monthly revenue stream. And Ask 500 People, this is a site that lets people ask any question they want. And we did a mashup with the Google Maps, so you can watch the answers come in real time as people vote. And Upgrade Me is what I'm talking about now, helping people, be a lot more productive as entrepreneurs. So we had ups and downs, okay? We got, when I got married, which was a huge up in my life, I had $180,000 in debt. And this was a horrible time. Her parents did not know. My parents knew. She knew. And I'm Jewish, and we had a traditional Jewish wedding. And the ring that I give her cannot be with borrowed anything, can't be with borrowed money, and I have all this debt, So how am I going to get her a ring? And so the ring was all these coins. I'm Canadian, and we've got these loonies, which is a $1 coin, and a toonie, which is a $2 coin. So I hate carrying around coins in my pockets. I'm always throwing them in this jar in the closet. So that's how I bought her wedding ring, and that's the ring she still wears today. So fast forward a few years, and my boy Ruben is born. He's 3.5 now. He's 3 months old here, and we were living in Hawaii, and I had this realization, that business is going great, but I have no time. I want to be with my kids. I want to be with my family. I want to, to pull back from the business, and I realized that I was working in the business and not on the business. So that's where this sort of started to germinate and come from. I realized I was just far too disorganized to be able to have a lot of free time. So I started doing experiments. I looked into getting things done, which is fantastic, but it's very complex. And I've started working out a system. And eventually, my friends started to say, we're interested, experiment with us. And so we've got things like a daily check-in list that's running now. And then I'm some of my entrepreneur buddies, we run this accountability group, and so it's sort of growing. And as of last count, I think 13,500 people are on our email list, and we're just sort of growing this thing to help entrepreneurs be a lot more productive. And the reason that this is important is I think the entrepreneur is right in the middle of the business, and everything around the entrepreneur is reflection of the entrepreneur. And that's in small companies and big companies. If you are organized and focused, I mean, there's people among us that just, they fly. You can't imagine how fast their business moves. It's amazing to watch them. And there are people that just kind of can't seem to stop being distracted. And everybody notices. Everybody around, is employees, vendors, anybody moves almost in reaction to the entrepreneur. Great example of this is Apple. Steve Jobs is obviously we think of Apple as an exceptional company and an exception, but really Steve Jobs, if you think about his influence in the company, he's not doing any specific thing because it's tens of thousands of employees, okay? But there was a huge impact. Does anybody know when Steve Jobs came back to Apple? Everybody know? 1997. So that's right there. Okay, and just an inflection point. So that's one person's influence, and everybody moves faster because of Steve Jobs. So the same thing is true in small businesses. So I've got a system for running your day, and my contention is if you do this, you're going to be twice as productive. You're going to move twice as fast. So an entrepreneur's real work is to move your business forward. Okay, that's your job, that's your role, is to inspire and move your business forward. And a lot of the way business usually works, does anybody know what this image is? Anybody guess? No, it's on Windows when you're defragmenting your hard drive. Anybody remember that? Right? So you defragment a hard drive because a hard drive, when it's all fragmented, is very inefficient. It's constantly seeking and flying back and forth and looking for information. It's a very inefficient way to move. Okay? So we want to talk about defragmenting our time, because often right now, I mean, we were talking about how the internet is sort of this massive distraction, and most of us work on computers, and so one click away is the most distracting thing, which is, and it's organized to be distracting. I mean, it's trying, all of these sites are trying to be as sticky and distracting as they possibly can. That's their reason for being. So this is what we have to contend with if we want to move our business forward. We want to defragment our time. So these blue bars here are what we want to get towards. We want to get towards the ability to do focused work in big chunks of time. When you're distracted by something, you can't really move anything forward. Have you noticed that? If you're trying to write something and you're distracted, you're constantly checking things, you can't actually move forward. You need to block out a space of time and be in the zone and just sort of forget everything, and that's when you're moving things forward the fastest. So the first thing you want to do in the morning, this is really important. If there's one thing that you should write down and do, it's this, and it's very simple. Spend 3 minutes and write down your 3 priorities for the day. It sounds like, what would that matter? But just having 3 priorities, knowing your 3 priorities, will give your day a sense of structure. And even if your day goes off the rails and some emergency happens, you will have a lot of the time, over the course of a year, you'll save weeks and weeks of time, because the days when it doesn't go off the rails or there is no emergency, you'll get a lot more done because you know what you're trying to work on. So there's 2 ways for the entrepreneur to move their business forward. Okay? This way, I call this the bullet train. Okay, a bullet train, the way that it works, the way it moves things forward, is it stops, and it might spend a while sitting in one place, letting off passengers, getting on new passengers, getting ready, and then it points down the line, and it just goes. Okay, it goes very fast in one direction. It's not trying to figure out which direction it goes. It knows where it's trying to go. And if you look along the sides here, there are walls. You can't interfere with the bullet train. You can't get in the way. It can't be distracted because it's got walls. Okay. The other way is like a city bus, constantly turning, changing directions, and people are getting on and off constantly. You don't move as fast. Okay, in a bus. So this is what you want. You want to do a couple bullet train sessions, okay? And the time to do these is in the morning. In the morning, your brain is the freshest. When you wake up, your brain, studies have shown this, your morning is your most productive time. And obviously, different people have different time cycles. Some people are more productive at night. But a lot of people, most people, are most productive in the morning. You've got the freshest brain right in the morning. Okay, so that's when you want to do these. So here's how you do a train run. Okay, 3 steps. Number 1 is a checklist. And a checklist is just, everybody's checklist will be different, and it might be things like close the door, turn off the phone, shut down instant messenger. I mean, if you can possibly do it, unplug your internet. Just physically unplug it, okay? So the idea here, thinking back about the bullet train, you're putting up walls. So you're about to work, you're about to do a run, and you're putting up walls so that nothing can interfere with you. So there's no distractions while you're going forwards, okay? So the checklist is putting up walls. Second thing is use a timer. Use a digital timer. This is one I recommend because it's really easy and quick to get started. Just punch the number and hit start. So you want to use a digital timer because your brain doesn't like to have ambiguity. So if you're trying to work on your taxes, which a lot of people find stressful, I certainly do. So if you're trying to work on your taxes and your job, your to-do item is do taxes, your brain doesn't like the idea of, okay, I'm now just going to work on taxes until they're done, because it's huge. So if you know you're going to work on taxes for just 20 minutes, it's a lot easier to actually start and actually do it, because you know there's a timer. When the timer goes off, you're finished. You can take a break. So step 3 is breaks. Breaks are hugely important and underrated, and not just sort of task-switching breaks. The worst thing you can do when you're working at a computer is take a break on the computer. And it's really easy to do, and it's really hard not to do this. But have you ever flipped over to Facebook or email or whatever it is, you're sort of taking a break, and hopefully you're not getting lost and losing 2 hours. But you flip over, and then when you get back to work, you find your brain is not actually rested. You don't feel refreshed. But that's what a break is, right? After a break, you should have a clear mind, and you should feel refreshed. You're about to go do something, right? So the way to take a break, and actually you see this in professional sports. Before somebody serves a tennis serve, they go bounce, bounce, and hit it. Or before they do a free throw in basketball, they usually bounce the ball a couple times. And studies have shown with heart rate monitors that their heart rate just drops a little bit, and it comes back up, and they go back to performing. So the best athletes in the world use little micro breaks, little downtimes, to be able to output at peak output for a lot longer. And they did this study and found that the sort of tier 2 athletes, still world class, just not best in the world, were not as good at taking micro breaks. And what would happen is their performance would just sort of degrade sooner. So it's as if their skill was just as good, but they weren't as good at managing their body and taking full breaks. So what you want to do is stand up and step away from the computer. Just physically stand your body up and walk your feet and just walk away. And it doesn't even matter what you do. Just get out of the room, go do something else. It doesn't have to be long. I like to lie down on a bed and put in earplugs. Just lie there. Just even 3 minutes, and I just feel completely refreshed. And so this is sort of forgive my horrible Photoshop skills here. This is sort of an output. This is the vertical here is output. And this is sort of representing complete breaks. You're taking a full break, and this is how your output looks. And then in the afternoon here, you start to degrade. I mean, for me at least, if I put in a really solid morning, my afternoon, my brain is kind of done, And it's just, you start working on maintenance stuff in the afternoon. So this is sort of a Facebook break. You take these little micro breaks, and you just start to degrade a lot sooner because you're kind of, you're spent so much sooner. So you've got your walls up. I'm going to go a little bit faster. I got the 5 minutes. So you're going to put your walls up, and now how do you deal with internal distractions? Okay, and these are like butterflies. So you think you're working, and then you realize, oh, I forgot to email Ben. And so you flip over to I'll just reply real quick. I just forgot to. You flip over to your email, and all of a sudden you see all these messages that you haven't seen, and now you're in your email. And now that's loaded up in your head, and you lose what you were working on. So the solution to this is really important, and it's really, really simple. Okay? Put a pad of paper next to your computer. You can attach a pen to it. It's like, I call it a butterfly pad. And the idea is you're going to write down ideas. Doesn't matter how small it is. It could be an idea that would take you 20 seconds to do. Don't go do it. Just write it down. And the idea is you're going to keep going, and then when you train, you finish as your timer goes off, then you'll go do this stuff. So afternoons are for maintenance. So putting it all together, this is what it looks like. This is your checklist. You're getting ready. This is a train run, okay? It's a break. Then you run through your checklist again, get ready, do another train run, take another break. And I find if I've done 2 train runs, even if those are about half an hour, 45 minutes, I've got so much real work done, I've had a great day. And I find personally my day is decided by 11 a.m. Like I know if I'm having a great day or a crappy day by 11 a.m. And then the rest of your day could just be filled up with maintenance. That's, replying to emails, all that kind of stuff. Last thing you want to do, set yourself up for tomorrow. What this means is take a sticky note, something like that, put it on your monitor. I've got these pads that I printed up, and they say, wait, don't check in yet. Don't check your email. And then what are your top 3 priorities? So we talked about that, but the idea is you physically, so don't try to remember this, put something on your computer, put something in between you and your email or whatever it is, so that as you arrive at work, you see this. So summary, decide your priorities in the morning, do a couple train runs, and then maintenance in the afternoon. And make sure you take real, actual breaks. So that's it. How can I answer questions? Anybody got questions? Oh, actually, I've got 5 pads to give away if people have questions. Yes?
Can I have a pad, please?
That's a fair question. You can't use that question again. Yes?
I work at the office, and then I go home and I do some real work, because the office my job is just to get interrupted. Do you have any ideas for transferring, like, is the laptop sort of goes with me and I'm going to set up again? And that's half the battle.
Transferring your stuff?
No, just like transferring the to-do list and the...
Yeah, I think the way to do that is one of the things I do is I've got a morning checklist, and it's sort of not necessarily to do with work, but it's like things that I need to do to start my day. And so you're having little tiny things that you're running this checklist, and that's you could segment sort of your stuff at home as one checklist, and then at work you're sort of running a different program, as it were. Sure. Want a pad?
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else have a question? Ideas for what you guys have found to be productive? What are things that are working for you? Yeah.
Question. How do you deal with if you're trying to implement like a time system like you're suggesting, but you run into certain tasks, obviously, that maybe don't fit into small, intense time segments. So the task either has to be broken up, or you have to do a marathon.
Most tasks don't fit into small segments. Like do your taxes would be one, or write a big article, or write a chapter, or write a book. And so one of the things you want to do is just have a time. The timer sort of helps with that, because you're not contemplating the enormity of the task. You're just kind of focused on, I'm just going to push this forward for 20 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever it is. And then one of the things you can do before you come out of it, the timer goes off, you can write down your thoughts. Okay, this is what I was thinking, or this is what I was doing. And then it's easier to get back into. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
If you're working on multiple projects throughout the week and you have to do something for all of them, do you suggest doing a little bit for each project every day, or do you think that it's better to play, Monday, Tuesday on one project, Thursday?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I've tried both ways, and both can work. I think if you like Jay, you were suggesting, if you're a manager and your job is to respond to other people, then it's really hard. You have to really isolate time for yourself and then give up the fact that you're just going to be interrupted. I mean, it depends on how flexible your work is. If your work is, if you're creating information products or something like that, then you can just bulk a whole bunch of time and then go deal with the real world and then jump back into it. But if your job is more managerial, or you have more frequent interruptions happening, then you might have to accommodate that and just push each one forward and keep notes on, as we were talking about, keep notes on what you're thinking. So that when you're trying to get back into it and load it up again, you can kind of read that through that. Yeah.
What about the space, the working space? You talk about time.
Sorry, can you speak up?
You talk about the time, but you don't talk about the space that you have to have.
Physical space?
Yeah, physical space. It's your house, it's a room, it's your office. You have to break it right from the...
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've got limited time, but absolutely having your own space, a space you control, a space you can shut doors is fantastic. And also, one of the things that you've got to do is kind of make everybody else around you aware. And some of this is sort of like, I'm going to be more productive, involves other people, backing off, or knowing that when you put this sign up on your door, they can't knock. If you've got kids at home or whatever it is, you want to set up a space around yourself. Absolutely. Okay, that's our time. So thanks very much, everybody.